A lot of chatter about just how good this 8-0 Philadelphia Eagles team is. I love it, man. Come play us and find out. What's up, Cerebral Football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. And if you're new to the channel, it's maybe the first, second, third time you caught my content and you enjoyed today's discussion. Look, we just crossed over 6,600 subscribers. We're on a journey. We're on a path towards 7,500 subscribers. I would love for you to be a part of the equation and join the Cerebral Football community. Just need you to hit that subscribe button to do that. To my OG subscribers, hat in hand, here to ask you that favor, guys. Hit that thumbs up button, smash the like button, help me spike this algorithm and get this in front of new people that we potentially convert into our little audience here on the YouTube. Hey, let me start off by saying, you guys know I used to go by Petty Officer Hyder once upon a time. So, to all the vets out there, my guys like LB, I know Stephen Joyce is, all the rest of you veterans out there, man, happy Veterans Day to y'all. All right, y'all, today's topic. Let's talk about this schedule. Let's talk about this nonsense surrounding the Eagles. Look, have they played overwhelming talent? No, not really. But I will say this. Name me the other football team that's beat a 7-1 team right now. Name me the football team that's beat a 7-win opponent as of right now. There's only one. It's the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Dallas can say what they want to, right? Oh, man, you beat us with our backup quarterback. Like, Dak Prescott ain't got a couple of those wins on his resume versus the Eagles, that stat line they like to put out there. Like, he didn't beat Nate Sudfeld back in 2017 when we already clinched home field advantage. Like, he didn't beat Gardner Minshew last year with half of a roster that's not even on this current roster any longer. So, to me, you beat who's out there. The bottom line is that defense was out there. Their starting defense was out there. It's supposed to be a juggernaut there in that defense in Dallas. It met its match in the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Let's call a spade a spade. You got taken to the woodshed and whipped. All right. So I look at this schedule, and I don't look over teams like Indianapolis. I don't look over Washington, our Monday night game. I do think that there are teams that, with the right circumstances in any game, can get you. It's incredibly difficult to go 17-0. We all know that. I didn't project that. I never projected this Philadelphia Eagles team to be a 17-0 football team. Hey, man, I'll be happy if it happens, but it's the NFL. Every roster has got talent on it, unfortunately. The Washington game, I think, is definitely one that we're catching it at the right time, right? We're catching it to where, number one, we had a mini bye week to prepare for it, but number two, it's at home. I know that, playing in Washington, FedEx Field is not exactly an away game per se. I mean, it's a quasi-away game, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it is very fortunate that we get that team on Monday night in Philadelphia because that team has pieces around it, right? I mean, with adequate quarterback play, they got offensive pieces there to be pretty dang good, to be quite honest. Hey, man, their interior middle, Daron Payne and Jonathan Williams, like, those dudes can play, man. Jonathan Allen. Like, those guys are really, really good run defenders in particular, man. They got outside edge rushers when they're healthy. They got dudes that can get after the quarterback. Like, that's a good football team, right? The Colts, I thought that game was going to be a lot harder than what it's looking like right now. That one is in Indianapolis. With that said, I don't view that game after the firing of Frank Reich and the benching of Matt Ryan. Like, I mean, they still got Michael Pittman, right? I mean, they still got some dudes out there that can hurt you, no doubt about it. But I don't think Sam Ehlinger's beating this defense. I'm just going to be real. But I will tell you the game. There's two games that worry me that I think you got to be real careful about, okay? There's the obvious ones. Like, yeah, Dallas in Dallas is going to be a tough game. We all know that. Who cares? The New York Giants, twice. They got a really good defense. They're aggressive with their defensive play. Like, that's going to be a dogfight when we get there. We just got to hope that we put enough points on the board that their offense just cannot muster that kind of point production to even remotely keep up. But I will say, Aaron Rodgers always, it always worries me. And we are fortunate that I believe that game is at home too. But with that said, that is not a very good Green Bay team. And it's like, it's one of those moments where it's like, man, I hope that they don't get their stuff together. They don't start catching traction until after we play them. Because that is a team I do think that in the back of my mind, I'm like, they can't be as bad as the record is showing you right now. Like, you got to be careful with an Aaron Rodgers-led team because if you give Aaron Rodgers an inch, he's taking a mile. That's the way Aaron Rodgers is. At the end of the day, that's still a very good quarterback back there that if he gets on a streak, he can hurt you. But I will say this, in my opinion, the toughest challenge that we've got probably on the remaining schedule comes from an AFC opponent. There's going to be a lot of emotions in the game. It's the Tennessee Titans game. And Offensively, I'm not overly concerned about their offense. I will say that they will run 12 personnel on you, so they will go jumbo. They will go big on you, and they will definitely try to get behind their running game and hurt you. And they got a very, very good running game, right? You're going to have to commit extra defenders to the box. For some of you guys that have been following me on Twitter, we've been kind of going back and forth, and I was explaining to you why the 52 run, the 52 front turns out to be the better run defense. That's just because by offset, you already got 7 defenders in the box. You walk a safety down, you got an 8 defender in the box. When you play teams like Washington, you play teams like Dallas, they got a little bit more talent at the wide receiver position. It's a little harder to do that because you're leaving less guys in coverage. But when you do play teams like Tennessee, who's probably not going to beat you one-on-one on the outside, I mean, if you get beat that way, then I think you can live with the results. That's where I think you got to go into 52, right? I'll tell you another team that I would be tempted to play 52 on, but they have better edge players. That team would be Seattle in the playoffs if we end up getting them. Like, that's a team you probably want to load the box on. With that said, they also have DK Metcalf. They got dudes out there that can play, man. They got good wide receiver play in Seattle. I will say that while Tennessee doesn't have the outside threats at receiver, they're still a lot younger, still a lot more development going on with their wide receiver core there. That team's defense is really good. Jeffrey Simmons is a good football player, guys. That dude can play. He's a player. Their run game and their defense, I think, matches up with us better than other teams. I think Seattle plays as a unit, but Seattle's been taken a few times this year for over 30 points. So I do trust that our offense could get going versus Seattle. I wonder how well our defense matches up against their offense. That could be a game that turns out to be a slugfest, if I'm being honest, in the playoffs. With that said, they're not on our schedule. The only team that really is Tennessee, of the teams we're talking about. Tennessee's a team I worry about, in terms of the regular season. That's the team that I think you got to be careful, man. You can get into a slugfest that could beat you. So that's kind of the game I have marked. That's the one I have circled, right? I don't even know when you get down to like New Orleans, you get down to the second Giants game, there's a very good possibility that we've already locked up home field advantage by that point. You're not going to rest your starters for 3 weeks, but you get what I'm saying, guys. Like, you've already locked up home field advantage. I mean, how much effort you putting into that other than trying to prep your guys for a playoff run? Like, I think you go into prep mode at that point. So if we lost the game past that point, we already locked things up. I think it's very probable that if we're sitting there 16-0, that they got a tough decision to make for that Giants game. Maybe you look at the Giants and you say to yourselves that they need a win to get into the playoffs, and we feel they're a bigger threat in the playoffs than X other team. Maybe you do go try to take it to them and go 17-0 just for the sake of knocking the Giants out of the playoffs. Like, there's a lot of variables here, right, that you got to look at. The other thing is that do you really want to risk injury over something? Yeah, I mean, it's a cool little marker. It's a cool little thing to have in the front office to talk about one of the few teams in the NFL to go undefeated in the regular season. You still got to get the job done through the playoffs, but there's only a few teams that have done that historically. So, sure, but is it worth an injury that could potentially damage you for a real playoff run, right? It could really jeopardize that. A lot of decisions here, guys. I'm not too sure that decision is the easiest in the world to make, if I'm being honest. But I want to know your thoughts. Leave your comments down below. What do you see as the toughest game outlined on the schedule, right? I think that Dallas game is rightfully so is going to be tough. I think the Giants and the Meadowlands can be tough, but I do think that is the second, that's the last game of the year. So I'm not too sure how much stake will be in that game. I think it's Tennessee. I think Tennessee is the game that you got to be a little careful about. I think that team matches up with us better than other teams do. I do kind of get the suspicion that they're going to try to, make this a ground and pound kind of game. They're going to try to run that clock. They want to try to execute, have these long, enduring drives on us and keep us on the sidelines, because I don't think they're going to win a 30-point challenge. I don't think they're built to get into a shootout like that. But they got a defense to really make your life hard, too. They can get after you if you have problems in protection. They can make it really tough to gain yardage on the ground, too. So that's a game I personally have, circled on my schedule. I want to know, what is yours? What game do you have circled? All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all's time and attention. I'll see y'all in the next video.